Hi, this is Dr. Dan Ritchie with the Performance Living Summit, and today I've got Bedros Keuilian with us, and he's going to be talking about passion and purpose, and I'm really excited to have him on this summit. He's actually been a business coach of mine for a number of years, and I have seen him mentor hundreds of personal trainers in the fitness industry to really greater success, greater passion, greater purpose. He's the CEO of Fit Body Boot Camp, which is the fastest growing boot camp franchise actually all around the world with now over 400 locations. And he can probably give us some interesting stats on how many people work out every week in a Fit Body Boot Camp location around the world. He's also the owner and founder of Fit Pro Newsletter, which is a fitness newsletter that goes out to thousands and thousands of people all around the world. And he really has raised the bar for the fitness industry and the personal training industry. But beyond just fitness, he has coached people to have greater passion, purpose, and really just a stronger mindset. And one of the great things that I've taken away from Bedros is a simple quote with the thoughts that occupy your mind and the people you surround yourself with make a huge, huge difference in your life and your success. So I'm going to throw it over to Bedros, and he has a presentation lined up for us. I will interrupt every once in a while with some questions, Bedros, but feel free to take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan, for having me. It's exciting. Of course, as you know, I love working with you, and we've got years of history behind us. So let us get started. I'm a big believer in, well, in getting an desired outcome, and I'm a big believer in getting the desired outcome in the fastest way possible. And so oftentimes people come to me for coaching and consulting, mainly started off in the fitness industry, but now I seem to be coaching folks outside of the fitness industry as well, from finance to real estate to dentists, chiropractors, holistic nutritionists, you name it, mindset, professional presenters. I coach them. And really it's all about the big outcome. How do I help more people with this passion that I have? And so I kind of titled this talk that we're going to have, how to find your passion and dominate your path, because quite honestly, we all have this greater gift that we want to give to the world. It might be a passion, a purpose. We know we're here for a reason, and we want to help a special segment of the population, but we sometimes don't know how to get clarity on that purpose and passion, and then how to take action on it to get the most desired outcome. So, if I were to ask someone, do you want to be a professional speaker? And they say, yes, all I want to do is get on stage and speak. And I might say, well, what's your plan for it? It's like, man, I don't know where to begin. I don't know if I need to go take speaking classes, or if I need to write a book, or if I need to create a website. And I've heard and I've read online that it takes anywhere from 8 to 10 years to really be a professional speaker who can influence and move the audience. And I'll say, gosh, would you like to cut that time in half and then cut that in half again? And they'll say, yeah, sure. I said, well, what if we can do this in 2 years, maybe 2.5 years most? Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to do what it takes? And the answer is typically yes. And so what I want to do is kind of outline that blueprint. And so it's really 3 steps to success and greatness compressed into a shorter amount of time than you would think, is how I look at it. So the step number 1 is to actually find and identify your passion. Step number 2, of course, is to define your purpose, and we'll get to each one of these in just a moment. And of course, number 3 is to 10x your productivity, to actually GSD, get stuff done, if you will. Because without getting stuff done, you can have passion and you can have a purpose, a reason why, but unless you actually have the rubber meet the road, you're not going to get the outcome. You're simply going to do busy work to avoid the scary stuff, which is the stuff that's really going to lead you to greatness, if you understand what I mean. Does that make sense, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
All right,
when it comes down to it, we've both seen this. People that get stuff done get ahead of people that just have a huge passion but don't get anything done.
exactly. Good. So let's continue on then. So how do we find our passion? People always say, well, look, I've got several different passions. I come from this industry, and I've got, there was a time when I helped a friend get through this thing. So they might be almost at this fork road where there's 3 different directions they can go. So I always go, all right, so let me ask you some questions, how to find your passion. I'll say, well, what is the gift that you have? What do you believe that God has instilled in you as a And typically they'll say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I said, well, if I could magically pay all of your bills, pay for all of your expenses of life so that you have no need to earn an income, what would you do for free to add value to the world? And I say, oh, okay, got it. So that's kind of how I want you to look at passion. Anyone who's listening to this is, what would you do for free if all of your bills were and you had all the money that you needed? What would you go out there and do, 10, 12, 15 hours a day for free simply because it is your gift to give to the world? So that's one way to define your passion. Another way to define it is what the author of The Big Leap talks about. His name is Gay Hendricks. And in this book, he talks about these three zones that we have. Sometimes, we end up stuck working in our zone of competence. And then there's this, above that is a zone of excellence. And then where you really want to be, where you're sharing your gift with the world, is your zone of genius. And when you're operating in your zone of genius, you never seem to get tired. When adversity comes to you, and in any field, if anyone's listening to this and they want to transition to a new field, a new industry, take on a new challenge, start a new business, right, create this new path for themselves, I promise you that you are going to deal with adversity. You're going to deal with the suck factor. You are going to have multiple times that the universe tests your ability and your commitment to sticking to your gift, right? And if you are working in your zone of genius, if you're doing what you should be doing, if you're on your path, then that adversity there is just a tiny little bump in the road. The suck factor that you're gonna go through is just a tiny bump in the road. But if you're kind of doing what you're good at, but it's not your zone of genius and your zone of excellence or your competence, then all of a sudden you go, man, maybe this is a sign from the universe that I should quit, that I should try something else, and it might very well be. So operating in your zone of genius is important. Getting way outside of your zone of genius into this place of incompetence, all of a sudden things get more difficult, more challenging. You're not able to articulate yourself well. When an adversity shows up, when failure comes, and failure will come, and failure is not something that we are destined to fall down and stay down. Failure is just a way of the universe testing your passion, saying, is this really what you want to do? If it is, I'll let you get back up. If it's not, you'll stay down and pretend to be dead, which is what most people do because they are not living in their passion, right? And so we have to work in that zone of genius. So then once we're working in that zone of genius, the question then becomes, what problem do I want to solve? What problem does it solve? What is the gift that I have, and what problem does it solve for the world? If you want to go into a new industry, a new field, start a new business, get on stage and motivate, well, you can only motivate when you are solving a problem. You can only take money from people when you exchange that money for a solution to a problem they have. So my challenge to you, if you know what your gift is and you know that you're operating in your zone of genius when you're teaching or using or sharing your gift, my question to you is, what problem does it solve? If it doesn't solve a problem that is pretty dramatic, I can promise you now, you are not going to make a lot of money. Now, that might be okay for you. Maybe you don't want to make a lot of money, but you want to be out there sharing your gift with the world. Well, that's okay, right? That's okay. But I can tell you this, that if you're going into business and you want to be successful and you want to be the greatest at it, and you want to measure success by money, and by the way, there should be no bad feelings about money because money is simply a vehicle to freedom. Money is what allows you to buy more time to spend with your family and loved ones. Right? So people always go, well, gee, money is bad. I don't want to just do this for money. I say do it for the money because money is a vehicle to freedom and nothing else, right? And so once we look at it that way, it's like, well, gee, all right, the bigger the problem that I can solve, the more money I can get for that solution, which means the better lifestyle I'll have, the more I can help the charities and causes that I want to help, the more time I can have with friends, family, and more I can contribute to society. So then, we know we're going to solve a problem. Then we say, who do we solve this problem for? Who is my avatar? So let me just bring all of this to home for you on a more personal level for me. Now, I know that my gift is to take fitness professionals, personal trainers who truly have a passion, who want to help people in their community lose weight, eat right, and have more energy and better health. And they want to help them do it through working out, a proper diet instead of a lap band or diet pills, potions and powders, or gimmicky infomercial products. But these personal trainers are having to fight the big box gyms, the Weight Watchers and the Jenny Craigs, and oftentimes they don't know and understand business. So my gift is the ability to take any personal trainer who's good at what they do, but horrible, awful at business, and teach them the fundamentals of business and show them a step-by-step process in becoming the best personal trainer in their community, who has a waiting list, who's charging a premium, and has created a category of one where they no longer have to compete on price. That is my gift. That is my zone of genius that I operate in. The problem that I solve is helping fitness professionals make more money, get more clients, and live a better lifestyle. So my avatar is typically, my average avatar is male. He's 32 years old. He's been certified and might have a degree or credentials in exercise science or kinesiology. He signed a lease for a 3 or 5 year lease for a building where he has equipment that he's leasing out, and he's now has a landlord because he's a tenant, and he quickly realizes that, oh my gosh, I built it and they didn't come. I'm a great trainer. I have the knowledge. I know how to motivate, inspire, coach, and burn fat off and hold people accountable, but I don't know how to market. I don't know any systems. I don't have a process. I don't have a team. I don't have a sales conversion process. And so that is my avatar, that 32-year-old guy. I've even named him so that I can solve his problem. His name is Dave, and he lives in Chicago, and he lives in a townhouse, and he's recently married. They want to have a child, but they decided they're not going to have a child until they actually own their own home. And until they own an actual single-family home, they're not going to have a child in that townhouse that they live in. And so Dave has this big problem. He has fears and frustrations of, I own a business, and I don't know what to do with it. And when he searches online, he will find me, and he will find the solutions that I bring. And that is my zone of genius, and that's the gift that I have. So no matter how big my competition gets, it doesn't matter if it's the big certification industries or other people who want to coach and consult other personal trainers, I go in there with the mentality that I am actually practicing in my zone of genius, and therefore I must dominate and crush my competitors because I believe I'm the best at what I do. And if any fitness professional goes to any other solution other than me to help grow their business, they are going to get a lesser product. And so I have a responsibility as part of my passion to move people into my funnel. And so I've got to dominate and crush and get that trainer who's in need of my services to work with me and not work with a competitor. And that's the mind shift change that I want everybody listening to this to have. It's really important. So then you have to say, all right then, so I know my avatar, I know the solution I'm going to bring to the table. That solution is within my zone of genius. It's my gift. Great. And you have to make sure that you're not everything to everybody. See, people always ask me, hey, how come you don't market to dentists? How come you don't market to chiropractors? How come you don't market to authors and holistic nutritionists, even though you have all these people as clients? See, I have all these people as clients because they came to me through word of mouth. See, I do one thing, and I do it better than anyone else. And the one thing I do is I don't help big box gyms. I don't help dentists. Yeah, when they come to me, I will help them if they want to join my coaching programs. But they're going to be surrounded by a sea of fitness professionals. Now, all business is business, and that's fine, but my biggest passion and purpose is to help fitness professionals. That is the one thing I want to do, and I do it better than anybody else. The moment I decide that I'm going to help personal trainers and yoga instructors and Pilates instructors and big box gym owners and chiropractors and physical therapists, well, all of a sudden my services become watered down. I do everything for everybody, which means I do nothing for no one. And so you really have to focus and have this tunnel vision of doing one thing and doing better than anyone else. And that has truly been the secret why I've been able to create so much success and a franchise that's blowing up like no one's business. We open up a new Fit Body Boot Camp every 38 hours somewhere on the planet. And we've only been around for 4 years. Fit Pro Newsletter has over 4,000 personal trainers worldwide using it each and every month. We train 50,000 clients a week at a Fit Body Bootcamp location. I own equity in so many businesses throughout the fitness industry. It's ridiculous. And it's not to brag, but it's to say that I'm so passionate, and that's my purpose, that if I know my getting involvement is going to help another fitness professional do better in life, I want to get involved with my time, with my money, with my efforts. anything that I can. So it's really critical there to define and find your passion, and these are kind of the 5 steps to do that. So let's talk about purpose, but before that I want to get a sip of water.
So just real
All
quick,
right.
Bedros, I just want to ask,
Yes.
because I know some of our listeners are thinking, yeah, but I'm multi-talented and sort of a jack of all trades. I mean, what do you say to that person who says, I'm good at 5 different things?
I said that's fantastic, and I always go back to my acid test. I said, all right, so I'm going to pay for your lifestyle. I'm willing to give you all the money that you want to earn, but I'm going to force you, and I always you've heard me say this, the gun to the head method. I'm going to put a gun to your head and say, I'm going to pay for your lifestyle, I'm going to give you all the money you want to earn, but you can only pick one of those 5 things to do out of passion. And typically they'll instantly latch on to one thing. The reason most people go, I've got 5 things that I'm good at and I'm a jack of all trades is not because they truly are passionate and really operating in the zone of genius in 5 different areas. It's because they're trying to hedge their bet. They think if I do one thing, I might fail at it. If I do 5 things, one of them might stick. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. And really, it's the amateur who comes up with the idea that let me hedge my bets and do 5 things. But it's the pro who says I'm going to do one thing better than anybody else, and I'm burning the boats behind me, so there is no retreat. It's this or nothing, and that's typically the person who makes it. So when we talk about purpose, then we've defined our passion, we know our gift. When we talk about purpose, we have to say, all right, what is my big reason why? Because if you don't have a reason why, it's almost like getting into your car and knowing that you have to drive to this location in another state, but you never program the GPS to get there. You can't simply the GPS knows where you're starting from, but unless you put where you want to end up, it's not going to give you the turn-by-turn instructions that you require to get there. And so you're going to do a lot of guesswork. It's going to take you more time, more energy, more effort, more money, more frustration to get there because you're going to wing it. Sure, you may drive in the general direction if you know you're going to go north and you know the place is about 600 miles away from you. However, think about the uncertainties that you're going to encounter because you don't have a GPS that has a beginning and an end. So this reason why is so important. Why are you serving this market? Why do you want to help these people? For me, I come from the fitness industry. Even before that, I was a fat kid in high school, and I got in shape, and I worked out for the first time in high school, and I lost 35 pounds, and I felt like a new human being. I came back in my senior year as weighing 35 pounds less, and all of a sudden I was visible. I went from invisible to visible to humans, to my fellow students. And it felt so good to have that transformation, that confidence, the health, that I wanted to get out of high school and help others. See, that was my reason why then. Then, of course, my reason why today is my big 2020 vision. And Dan, you know this. My goal is to impact the world's population through health, fitness, and wellness by 2020, 20% of the world by 2020. Now, does that mean I'm going to train? We're going to train, 20% of the world's population by the year 2020? Absolutely not. But if the average Fit Body Bootcamp location has about 300 clients, and if each client goes back and shares a better diet, nutrition, activity program with their family, then you know what? We are getting a lot closer to hitting our 2020 goal. And outside of the Fit Body Bootcamp owners, I have literally hundreds of coaching clients who own their own private brands of gyms and boot camps and personal training studios. And if I can help each of them get their clients to help more people in their family and their communities, a teacher who happens to be a client who can actually help the students eat better, and those students go home and they talk about eating better to their family, that's all part of my big 2020 vision. That's part of my reason why. And so no matter how much challenges, adversities, and setbacks I get, I always have my true north, and my true north to me is my reason why, and it's my purpose. It's the purpose of why I do things. And so that's really my big, hairy, kind of audacious goal, is to impact the world by 20% of the world by the year 2020. Will I get there? I hope so. I'm taking every action step to get there. I'm working faster and harder and in a more obsessed state of mind than ever. But I can tell you this, if I get to 17% of the world's population, boy, I will be happy because I'll still have made a ding on this planet. So I challenge everyone to say, well, what are you willing to do to achieve it, right? What are you willing to achieve success? And the real answer to that is whatever it takes. I mean, that really is the answer to that. It's whatever it takes is what I'm willing to do. Because if you know that's your gift, God's giving you a gift. So, you've got this gift that you are to share with the world, and that is the only way you will feel fulfilled and happy, and you feel that you can sleep better at night, and you have a purpose, you have a goal, then you have to do whatever it takes to achieve that outcome, because you will come up with, I think I wrote it here, maybe I didn't, it's on the next slide, so let's just jump into that. Now we're going to talk about productivity, because we've got your purpose, we know that your big reason why, you're going to set some kind of a big goal, 5 years down the road, and then you're going to chunk those goals into smaller, shorter goals. Like for us, with Fit Body Bootcamp, as long as we get 22 locations on board per month, we know we are going to hit our goal of 3,000 locations by 2020. And so we kind of just stay true to our monthly goal, and that translates to our annual goal, and that, of course, blends into our 2020 goal. So now we know what our passion is, we know what our purpose and our big reason why is. Now, how do we actually get started? How do we get 10 times the outcome, the productivity that we want? Well, let's talk about that. First and foremost, you have to focus on your 5%. As an entrepreneur, you know that there's a lot of things that have to get done. I mean, let's look at it this way. If we can make a list of 100 things, from maybe renting an office to getting internet, setting up a phone line, hiring an assistant or a virtual assistant, setting up a website, learning how to run ads on Facebook, on Google, going to local events to be able to drum up business. I mean, there's so much that has to get done. Setting up systems and processes in your business. You have to do your taxes and payroll. I mean, there's a lot that have to get done. If you have an office, like we've got a 2-story office here, we've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 restrooms. Oh, these restrooms have to get cleaned and stocked. The floors have to get cleaned and stocked. The cubicles have to get vacuumed in. A lot of things have to get done, but none of that is in my 5%. See, because there's 100 things that have to get done to run your business, but only 5% of those things are the things that make you money, make you happy, and move your business forward. And those are the things that you have to focus on. And so again, we go back to the amateur and the pro. The amateur says, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to write the payroll checks. I'm going to clean the restrooms. I'm going to make the phone calls. Listen, if you can hire someone for $12 to $15 an hour to do some of those things, to work on the trivial 95%, then doesn't it make sense to put your 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day on the critical 5% that grows your business? So when people ask me, man, it seems like you were an overnight success. What happened? My answer is simple. I just focus on my 5%. For me, my 5% is to delegate, motivate, and sell. I delegate to my team, I motivate my business partners, and I sell. That is the only thing I focus on, because without selling, no money comes in. And without money, there's no oxygen to keep the fire burning. Money is the oxygen that keeps the fire burning in any business. And so again, we go back to that money statement. You have to sell, because nothing happens until the sale is made. So you got to focus on your 5%, and that is what I call the critical few, versus the 95%, which is the trivial many that can just get exhausting. All right, the next thing, the domination mindset. And we kind of talked about this already, that you are going to face adversities and challenges and setbacks and failures. But you can't look at that as the universe telling you to quit. This is actually the universe testing you. Are you really cut out for this? Do you deserve the reward that's to come at the end? And if you have this domination mindset, and I really call it the mindset of being a weed, be everywhere all the time. I mean, you walk into Lowe's and you walk into Home Depot, and you will not find a weed killing spray that you can spray on a weed and the weed will be gone forever. Sure, you can spray on it and the weed will be gone for a couple weeks, if you're lucky, a whole month, but that weed comes back. See, everybody looks at the orchid as this most beautiful plant and flower on the planet. What people don't realize is the orchid, while it's so pretty and beautiful, it's also the most fragile and delicate. Any kind of change in humidity and the orchid dies. Any kind of change in the soil, the orchid dies, but not the weed. See, everyone looks at the weed as a nuisance. It's growing amongst my orchids. See, I look at it as I want to be a weed. That is a domination mindset. I want to be omnipresent. I want to be everywhere. I'm going to let nothing kill me. If you have that mindset, You will grow out of cement. You will grow out of concrete. You will grow out of weed. You will grow out of ice. You can deal with the most adverse heat, and you can deal with the most freezing cold, because the weed can survive in any climate, in any atmosphere. You can pull it out. You can spray it. It'll come back. It will thrive. It will live forever, because that's what a weed is designed to do. You can program your mind. And if we had another 4 hours in this whole webinar here, we can actually kind of hit the tip of the iceberg and how to reprogram your mind to have this domination and peak performance mindset. But it really boils down to having this weed-like mentality that I am hell-bent on achieving an outcome, and like the weed, I will thrive no matter the setback. So with that, then, of course, we go into what we call getting obsessed. Typically, the word obsession has kind of this negative connotation to it. Oh, you're obsessed. You're obsessed. Guess what? I am obsessed. I am obsessed with success, specifically with helping the people in the industry that I want to serve, because I have this great outcome that I want to achieve. I want to impact 20% of the world's population by the year 2020. And so I have to be obsessed with that. I have to make that a priority in my life. It is always front of mind for me. Wherever I go, whatever I do, whether I'm with my family, whether I'm in business, whether I'm traveling, my obsession is the desired outcome. I always have to keep my eyes on my desired outcome and be obsessed with it. So some might go, well, wait a minute, Bedros, you don't live a balanced life. And that means most entrepreneurs who you coach and who are like you don't live a balanced life. Guess what? I've got news for you. If you are a true entrepreneur, if you are a pioneer, you do not have a balanced life. You absolutely don't. Because you are traveling on weekends. You are waking up in different hotel rooms, and you are speaking from the stage and running workshops and moving people into action. You think the guy who wrote the book and who's traveling the world doing book signings at all these different bookstores has a balanced life? Absolutely not. But your purpose and your passion have to force you into an obsession. So you have to be willing to be unbalanced in that way. And there's nothing wrong with that kind of unbalance. There's everything wrong with being unbalanced when you're an alcoholic, a drug addict, lazy, and don't want to get out of bed, right? Because there's people who obsess on all the wrong things in life. But there is nothing wrong about being obsessed with helping the people that you're meant to help with your gift. So then, this goes to our kind of big thing here, which is the haters. Gee, what happens if I'm so obsessed, I'm in this domination mindset, I'm going, and then people start writing negative things about me on Facebook, on press releases, in Yelp. Guess what? Even Gandhi and Mother Teresa had haters. You can go online and do a Google search and write, people who hated Mother Teresa, and you will find websites upon websites of people just talking bad about Mother Teresa. And I don't know of any one person who was more willing to help those stricken by poverty than Mother Teresa. So my point of this is, the more haters you have, use that as the gauge of your success. You should be worried when you don't have haters and people who are naysayers. And so you just have to embrace that. It comes with the territory, man. It's just how it is. I don't know why it's that way. It's going to impact you at first. It's going to slow you down. You're going to feel like going through molasses the first few times that you are publicly run through the mud. And I've been run through the mud several times. And Dan, you know this. And anyone who's been successful at any great level has publicly been run through the mud. And with the internet now and social media and everyone having a voice and YouTube channels, that's going to happen. But if you have a true north, you have a passion, you have a purpose and a big reason why, and you are obsessed on getting the outcome by helping the people that you are meant to help. See, I look at it as every trainer that I don't help is one more trainer who is crying themselves and not every night to sleep because they're wondering how tomorrow's going to look. Are they going to have their building condemned? Are they going to have locks on their doors when they go to their gym, their personal training studio, or their boot camp, and when they go to open up and there's a lock on there that says, hey, you haven't paid your rent? So I have this duty, I have this responsibility to look past my haters and to look past my feelings of, gee, what if I get my feelings hurt, and help the people that I'm destined to help with the solution that I have. Because if I don't, there are people who are literally going to lose their homes, their businesses, their families, because I wasn't willing to look past a hater or two or three and get obsessed and dominate my path. So then that leads to our last component here when it comes to productivity and getting things done so that you can have 10 times faster outcome, right? Which is to ruthlessly manage your time. Because when you start making a lot of noise in any industry, when you start getting good at what you do, people start coming out of the woodwork and they go, hey, do you mind if I take you to lunch? I have this idea I want to share with you. Hey, can we get on a call real quick? I want to pick your mind about X, Y, and Z. And before you know it, you are getting so busy with these trivial little things that you have to do that you no longer have the time to dominate your path. You don't have the time to help the people that you were meant to help because you've given pieces of you away. And so I tell you right here and now, if they are not paying you, if their vision is not in line with your passion and your purpose, with your gift, then you have to get used to saying no. Get used to saying no by ruthlessly managing your time and being responsible because you truly have a gift to share with the world. And unless you share that gift with the world, people are not going to get the outcome that you want them to get. And of course, finally, there are the shouts and whispers. Like I said in the beginning here with the 5% rule, there's a lot of things you have to focus on. Well, a lot of things in business are shouts and whispers. Now, do you want to get on a phone call with someone who could potentially do a blog post for you and give you a little bit of exposure? That might be a whisper compared to the shout of actually doing a global tour in the state or the country or the globe for that matter, and doing a book signing if that's your goal. That's a shout. Do the bigger things that are scary. You have to do the bigger things that are scary, the shouts. The whispers are, gee, I wrote a guest blog post or someone interviewed me. Because I can tell you right now, we are on this webinar right now, Dan, and it's a lot more comfortable for me to be in my comfortable office, have my cup of coffee to my left, my water to my right, and go through this PowerPoint. Piece of cake. And I can look out my office window and I see my sea of employees and staff members working. But the greater outcome for me is if I was in front of 1,000 people on stage sharing this, moving them to their desired outcome, and then getting off stage and shaking their hands, and then getting commitment from each and every person saying, will you do it? And they say yes, they will achieve more success, and that's a shout versus the whisper. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. And so finally, we're going to end off with being, and by the way, this is a little sketch that a Disney artist was kind enough to do for me. He took a picture of me and he did a little animation sketch. His name is Scott Cook, and he's one of the great animators for the Disney cartoons that you get to see on TV. And he drew this for me, so I thought I'd share it here. But anyway, the big lesson here is to be unreasonable in your expectations. Have unreasonable expectations of yourself, of the people you surround yourself with. Do not live in a sea of mediocrity. Do not embrace the being an average person. Be unreasonable and set your goals high, and you will achieve the outcome sooner with greater results than you've ever imagined.
That's fantastic. Fantastic stuff, Bedros. I want to ask you sort of a closing question that I've asked of pretty much everyone in the Performance Living Summit.
Sure.
If you were to give our listener your top 2 tips to your secret for your personal success. So what would be the top 2 things that has really allowed Bedros to just explode and maximize his success?
Yeah, well, you mentioned one of those 2 things when we first started, which was the big lesson that you've learned, which is to surround yourself with winners. I surround myself with people who are better than me. And that means if I have to I pay for thousands of dollars of coaching programs for me to be around people who I want to be like, I want to emulate. So number 1, surround yourself with winners, because at the end of the day, we are all the sum of the people that we hang out with. And so if I can hang out with people who are doing bigger and more exciting things than I'm doing and that I want to be doing, then I end up somehow emulating them and achieving their outcome as well. And thing number 2 is, which kind of dovetails into this, is do the things that are most scariest and most uncomfortable. Anytime I've done the things that have just made my heart flutter and created a little knot in my stomach, the scary things, man, that is when I've had the greatest outcomes ever.
Okay, that's great. Great tips. If people want to learn more about you, read about what you're up to, can you give them a simple website they can visit?
Yeah. The best place to find me is on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook. I believe social media is changing how we interact and communicate. And while there are some jerks on social media, for the most part, there's a lot of good to be gained from social media because the world is connected. And so you can just go to facebook.com/Bedros Keuilian and find me and send me a private message or just follow me and be a friend.
Cool, cool. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Bedros, being part of the Performance Living Summit. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Take care.